We are greatly misled about travel and photography of people. It's not all positive. It's not even about photography sometimes. Yeah, stories of friendly locals, amazing experiences, connecting with people, they're very attractive. They sell. I tell them too. But there are also some hard truths about traveling and photographing people from different cultures. We can't escape them. We must understand them and know about them.
Hey, I'm Mitchell. For the past decade, I've been living my dream, journeying around the world as a professional travel photographer. During this time, I've seen and I've learned a lot. And now I want to share the knowledge with you. Come along on the journey.
They say that real tests come when the going gets hard. And photographing people from different cultures, it's so complex, so much can go wrong. Not trying to scare you, not at all. It's just that so few photographers talk about the difficult side that we have almost no reference point for what to do when things don't go smoothly. This video, my experiences, my thoughts, the advice that I share, it's all to help you in the challenging moments. And those moments will come, it's only a matter of time. Something I want to mention really quickly off topic. After watching my videos, some of you have asked, what's it like to be alone all the time? Don't you get bored? To which my reply is, don't worry, I'm actually rarely alone. I mostly travel with my wife and daughter. Like over the past month, we've been traveling around Georgia and Armenia in the Land Rover, staying in some pretty magical places. I love it. There's nothing more special than spending so much time with my daughter. But when I get these rare, quiet, alone moments, like now while the girls are in the hotel, I don't complain, I enjoy them too. It's when I get to reflect. It's when I can make these videos. By the way, can you guys guess where I am? I'm in an ancient Armenian church. It's in a forest. This one is more or less abandoned. So I've got this amazing place all to myself today. Anyway, the first hard truth about traveling and photographing people is that it's near impossible to find the perfect balance between friendships and working relationships. This is Paying. He's a sulfur miner at Ijen Crater in Indonesia. We became friends when I got lost on my way to the crater, early in the morning in the dark. Our friendship allowed me more access, intimacy. After 5 days of photographing Paying at work at the crater, I followed him to his home and spent a week there with his family. These photos are also from an early morning, from a mass in a remote monastery in northern Ethiopia. Rode a motorbike there with my guide and translator. We left at 4 a.m. to be on time. It was pitch dark, we fell, because the road was made out of rubble, had to come the day before to find the place. Not everybody would have put in the effort that my guides in Memphis did. But by this stage, we were friends, and we were both ready to go that extra mile for each other. As you can see, being friends with the people you photograph with your guides, translators, can be beneficial. But every now and then, friendships can be disastrous for your photography, especially when you're photographing in a different culture and there are basically additional possibilities for misunderstandings. Things can sometimes get too complicated, too intense, or too fun and relaxing and you get no work done. To be productive and effective, sometimes just keeping that little bit of distance works best. The perfect balance is near impossible to achieve. Again, being in a different culture makes it even more difficult. Having said that, if I have to choose, I will always lean towards friendships. Not only are they more enriching and fulfilling in terms of life, but when there's a genuine relationship, not just money or work, there's a possibility for something deeper. And ultimately for your photography, that means that some special images can happen. Very quick plug. If you want some in-depth, practical tips about traveling and photographing people, if you want to see how I do it, everything from finding the subject, being in the field, to what I do in post-processing, well, I've made a behind-the-scenes video course on this very topic. I use my award-winning photos as examples to learn from. The idea of the course is to give you the knowledge, the tools, to make your own award-worthy photos. You need a cultural filter. Some of my favorite journeys have been through countries where the culture is incredibly different to that of my own world. That's an amazing part of traveling, but it also means that there are many unknown nuances. so many chances of saying and doing the wrong things. In such cases, it's beneficial to have a cultural filter. What or who is a cultural filter? It's a person who understands both worlds, yours and that of the people who you are photographing. So a guide, translator, or a friend. If you don't have a cultural filter, it can be easy to offend people, to change the dynamics of your interaction. Generally, people won't outright reject you if something goes wrong, but you'll see them acting differently. They'll start making excuses about certain things. You'll lose photo opportunities. Over time, I have learned that even if I speak the language but don't understand the culture, it's better to seek help from somebody who understands both worlds. There are sometimes bad guys along the way. The Salt Desert in the Danakil Depression in Ethiopia, one of the hottest regions on Earth. Even in winter, by 10 a.m. it can be scorching hot. My driver hadn't been to Danakil before. Only there did he realize what he got himself into. He was hot, and suddenly he decided that he didn't want to wait anymore. So he wanted to leave me, my wife, and my guide friend in the Salt Desert. I hadn't even been shooting for an hour. Only thanks to the involvement of the army folks who'd been patrolling the area did he not leave us there. Through my travels, I have met a few of these, let's call them bad guys. I've been cheated out of money, lost my time, missed out on opportunities. Yeah, it's frustrating, it sucks, but sometimes we get so worked up, we dwell on these negative experiences. I've got no energy for that. I'd rather go and create something. You try to put things in perspective too. It's not the end of the world, it's an experience. Learn from it, become wiser, and move on. The majority of people in the world are good, or at the worst, they're neutral. Sometimes you're not really wanted around. I once stayed in a village with the Hamer tribe in the Omo Valley, again in Ethiopia. A unique, beautiful people. We arranged a homestay and permission to take photos. I was made to believe that the villagers will be happy for me to stay as long as I like and to take as many photos as I like. But the dynamics in the Omo Valley are complex, and after a couple of days, I wasn't really wanted around anymore. Various reasons, too long to explain, and that's not the point here. There was no aggression, no animosity, but you could definitely feel the tension. I invested money, time, and energy to get to this village. As a professional photographer, I had to get out with something. It wasn't the most enjoyable experience, but it wasn't horrible, and it was fascinating. So I stayed until I got the photos. But here's the thing, if I know beforehand that I'm not wanted, I won't go. Or if I don't spend too much time and then I find out during the project that I'm not wanted, I won't stay. Sure, every now and then there's an exception, but other than that, unless you're on an assignment, there are too many amazing places in the world with people that will welcome you. The rest of the world is likely not like your world. In the so-called Western world, we're in a bubble. We are very shielded from the pain and suffering which is sometimes very in your face outside of this bubble. My vision of the world has turned on its head since I started traveling. Without going into the gory details of everything that I've seen and experienced, I will say that you can't not be affected by these things. Eventually you become somewhat desensitized, but everyone still has their weak spots. If there is no good reason, I avoid exposing myself to experiences which I know will haunt me. I'm glad that I do this. In fact, I recommend it. When you travel a lot, there will be plenty of times that you will inadvertently come across something that you'll wish you had never discovered. Countless questions will keep you up at night. The more you travel, the more you see, the more questions you have. You know your job as a photographer, but what should you do as a human being? When you see the pain and suffering, should you get involved? Do you help somebody? Who do you help? How many people can you help? And how much? Will you create false expectations when you help? It's happened to me. Are you creating dependency by helping? And when do you know if someone's just trying to take advantage of you? Also, a really big question. How far will you go to get the photo? And this brings up many more questions and nuances. The answers are obviously very personal and subjective. Every situation is so different. Some people have extreme approaches, like to never get involved or to always pay for everything like it's a transaction. I try to stay away from the extremes, but everything in between is an option. And I try to be a good human being along the way too. There are no rules, no manuals to this. You will make mistakes, for sure. You will have more questions. And if you're a thinking kind of person, if you're empathetic, then you'll probably be losing some sleep too. Awkwardness and discomfort are very normal in this line of work. I remember to bond with these fishermen in the Philippines, to get better access to photograph them, I couldn't turn down their offer to sing karaoke in a tiny bar on the beach. Santana's Black Magic Woman it was, and it was painful for me and for the listeners. Here I'm doing an improv dance to ingratiate myself with folks in a desert village in the Sahara. Fun, but super awkward moments. Images like these hint that I've had to do a bit of drinking on my journeys. Some people would love it. I'm really over it. In my regular life, I drink very rarely. But not drinking in some parts of the world means no photos of some of these guys. I've used my personal examples that might not make you feel awkward or uncomfortable. So imagine whatever does. There's a good chance that you'll encounter that on your travels sooner or later, and it may be the price that you have to pay for bonding or getting access. What do I do in these awkward or uncomfortable situations? I simply ask, is it something I'm ready to do? And is the photographic opportunity worth it? When it's lighthearted and harmless, I'll usually give it a go. The drinking, I've had to really learn how to say no, apart from a few occasions which have accumulated over the years. Before I go, I want to leave you with 4 pieces of advice. Keep them in mind and you'll be able to persevere in virtually any situation. Number 1, don't generalize. Most people are good, some are bad. Sometimes one group will try to convince you that another group is bad. As a traveler, as a photographer of people, generalizing serves you no purpose. You need to be as open-minded as possible, to see all the possibilities, but also not to let your guard down too much. Make yourself as likable as possible, as quickly as possible. How you do this is up to you. That could be a whole topic, but obviously when people like you, they're more likely to help, to cooperate, and to let you into their world. Don't ever lose your temper. You'll rarely get anything done when people see you lose control. In some countries, losing temper is called losing face. It's a huge deal in those places. If you lose face, people won't even know how to react or what to do with you. I have never achieved anything when losing my temper, so I have quickly learned not to do it. Keep your sense of humor. It's easy to get frustrated and really worked up when something goes wrong, but this state of mind is so unproductive. We all have probably noticed that if we can joke even about our own misfortunes, then almost anything is easier to deal with. And sometimes there's absolutely nothing that we can do, so why not have a laugh about it all? Alright, so now you have at least a slightly more complete picture of what traveling and photographing people from different cultures can involve, not just the rosy stuff. You will have to face at least some of the hard truths at some stage. They're inevitable when you travel and photograph people. I hope that what I've shared here will give you some ideas and will boost your confidence to deal with it all. That is it for me. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, watch one of these videos here, and see you next time.